Wow, you've really outdone yourself with this reading list, huh? Organizational responsibility, sustainability, ethics, all in talent management. I mean, it is a lot, but super interesting stuff.
It's uh it's really fascinating stuff, and it's honestly probably more relevant now than ever, you know.
I know, right? Feels like the rules have totally changed, even in just the past few years. We aren't just talking about being like the good guys anymore.
Yeah.
This is a whole different way of looking at how organizations perform, how they work.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it as like a triple bottom line. Economic impact, social impact, and environmental impact. And this isn't just for huge companies. This applies whether you're like, I don't know, running a big international company or a local bookstore.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. Let's say you're listening to this and you've got a meeting or a project coming up and you need to get up to speed on this whole organizational responsibility thing, like quickly. Why does it even matter so much right now?
Well, I think you just have to look at how much the workplace has changed, even just in the past 10 years. I mean, the internet and social media, total game changers. Companies can't exactly hide anymore.
It's true. And they've learned the hard way. Like, remember what happened with Nike and the Gap?
Mm-hmm.
All that online scrutiny basically forced them to take a hard look at their labor practices
Yeah.
and completely rethink things.
Exactly. And it's not even just, those big global supply chains. These issues, they can pop up in any organization, often when you least expect it. Like, remember that whole controversy with Dr. Sabatini, that potential hire at NYU's medical school?
It's true. It can really blow up out of nowhere, which is, I think, why it's so important for organizations to really be prepared, to really have a handle on this stuff.
Totally. The 21st century organization, it's less hierarchical, it's more global, and it's definitely more interconnected than ever before. And what that means is everyone's under a microscope,
Mhm.
from huge universities and government agencies to, of course, big corporations.
And that's where this idea, this concept of organizational responsibility really comes in.
Huh.
It's really about understanding that your choices, all your choices,
Hmm.
have these ripple effects.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that literally every decision you make, every single action, has consequences that go way beyond just like your immediate circle.
And that those consequences, they can
Mhm.
come back to impact, well, everything. Your bottom line, your reputation, even just your ability to attract and keep great people on your team.
Exactly. It's not just about like doing good for the sake of it anymore. It's about doing well by doing good. It's good business.
Yeah.
And it's actually really interesting. There's more and more evidence showing that going after those social and environmental goals, it can actually be really good for business. It's not this either thing anymore. Like, you don't have to
So
choose.
it's not just about being altruistic. It's like a smart business move. Tell me more.
Exactly. One study, it was in Spain by Capriati and Moreno, found that something like 75%, a full three-quarters of consumers, they said they'd actually penalize companies if they thought they weren't socially responsible. That's huge.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a big chunk of customers to potentially lose. So it seems like a strong commitment to this whole organizational responsibility thing. It's not just like good ethics. It's like vital for staying competitive.
Exactly. And it's not even just about like appealing to your customers. There was this PricewaterhouseCoopers survey, and it found that CEOs actually see corporate social responsibility as like totally essential, especially when the autonomy is uncertain.
That makes a lot of sense. When things are a little shaky, people want to support businesses that they actually like trust and believe in. You know what I mean?
Right. And then there's this other study, like a meta-analysis by Orliski and some other researchers, and they looked at tons of companies, hundreds. And guess what? They found a clear connection. Basically, the better a company's social and environmental performance was, the better their financial performance was.
Okay, so this is like hard data now,
Hmm?
not just like nice stories. We're talking about something that can really impact you, your career, your company's bottom line,
Right.
even just the choices you make at the store. It all comes back to this organizational responsibility idea, huh? But how do you actually do it? Like, it's one thing to talk about it, but how do you actually make it happen in an organization?
That's where what's called strategic responsibility management comes in, or SRM for short.
SRM.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is that in a nutshell? Like, you had to sum it up quickly.
It's like a framework, a practical framework for actually making organizational responsibility part of everything, every part of talent management.
Okay, I like where this is going. So walk me through it. Like, what are the key parts of this?
You can think of it almost like project planning. Like, first, you got to start with a really, really clear vision and a strong set of values. Then you figure out who your stakeholders are, and you have to prioritize their expectations. And remember, stakeholders, that's not just your employees, It's your customers, the people who buy your stuff, your suppliers, your community, anyone who's actually impacted by what your organization does.
It's about really seeing the big picture,
Right.
right? Understanding what everyone needs.
Exactly. You got it. From there, you come up with initiatives, specific actions that actually match up with your overall strategy. You don't want this to be some like afterthought. It needs to be a core part of how you do business. And then, super important, communication.
Right. You got to make sure everyone's on the same page, right?
Totally. You got to raise awareness internally, get everyone on board. And the way you do that is through training. And not just any training. It has to be training that answers that question everyone has. What's in it for me? You got to make it relevant to them.
For sure. Incentives matter. People are way more likely to get on board if they see how it benefits them directly, right?
Exactly. And then you have to bake this whole SRM thing into how the organization works day to day. Like, you need clear ways to measure progress and rewards for people who are, doing the work. And finally, to kind of close the loop, you need transparent reporting both inside the company and externally so everyone can see how you're doing with your goals.
So it's about making organizational responsibility part of the DNA of the company.
Yes, precisely. And that's where people in talent management, they have a real opportunity, I think, to lead the way. Now, shifting gears a bit, we have to talk about sustainability.
Right. It's like such a buzzword these days. But when we're talking about talent management, it's not just about the environment, right?
Exactly. It's about people, too. It's about building those practices, those ways of doing things that help both the organization and its people be, well, sustainable over the long term,
It's about building a future where everyone wins, right? Not just the company's bottom line, but like the people, the planet, the whole picture.
Exactly. And, researchers have actually identified like 4 main approaches to this whole sustainable talent management thing.
Okay. Yeah. I'm listening. Lay it on me.
Right. So one approach is what they call socially responsible talent management. And it's basically like being really aware of how your business, how your organization impacts people beyond just those who are directly involved,
Okay.
and thinking about the future, not just what's happening right now.
So like widening that circle of responsibility and playing the long game.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's green talent management, which is all about making those environmental values a core part of everything you do, like from recruiting the right people to how you reward and recognize them, really walking the walk on sustainability.
Right. So it's about shrinking that carbon footprint while you're attracting those people who share those values, who get it.
Totally. And then there's triple bottom line talent management, which is all about finding those win-win-win situations where what's good for the company is also good for the employees and good for the planet.
I love that in theory, but how does that work practically? Like, give me an example.
Okay, so picture this, right? Cross-generational green management. So you're encouraging your more experienced workers, the ones who've been around the block, to share all their amazing knowledge with the younger generation, and everybody wins, right? Those experienced workers, they feel valued. The newer folks gain all that valuable knowledge, and the company benefits because, you're not losing all that experience.
It's true. And that reduces the need to hire someone new, which, yeah, that's good for the environment, less impact.
See, it all connects. Okay, and then the fourth approach, this one's like the most ambitious, maybe. It's called Common Good Talent Management. And it's really about using all your talent, all your resources to actually try to tackle those huge, society-level problems. Think like climate change, poverty, inequality. It's about making a real difference in the world.
Wow. So it seems like no matter what your company, your organization really cares about, there's like a flavor of sustainable talent management that can work, that can fit.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. There was this really cool study by Liu and some other researchers, and they found a direct link between sustainable talent management practices and employees who are more resilient, more engaged. Like, they bounce back from challenges better. And that's so key, especially these days.
Yeah, especially with so much talk about burnout, and just the way work is changing so rapidly.
Exactly. When your people feel supported, when they feel like they're valued, not just for what they do, but like who they are, they can handle anything. They can bring their best selves to work.
It really is a win-win for everyone. Okay, so we can't talk about all this great stuff without mentioning employee privacy, especially with all the technology we're using at work these days.
You're absolutely right. It's a huge topic, a little bit of a minefield, honestly.
Yeah.
The laws are changing all the time. And then you've got companies coming up with new tools, new software all the time that gives them more and more control over their employees' devices, even when those employees are working remotely, even when they're at home.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to think about, both for like employers and, us, the employees.
For sure.
Hmm?
And it all boils down to finding that balance, that sweet spot between like convenience, because these tools, they are convenient, and protecting people's information, their privacy. It's a balancing act for sure.
So, like, what are some good rules of thumb? Some best practices for protecting privacy when everything's, like, digital these days?
Well, I think first and foremost, transparency is key. Employers, they have to be upfront with their people about what they're tracking, what data they're collecting and why, and, how they're actually keeping that data safe. And for employees, it's about being mindful, about what you share online, both like in your personal life and when you're on the clock.
Think before you click. Classic advice, but still true.
It really is. It's about protecting yourself, but it's also about respecting other people's right to privacy, too.
Such good advice.
Yeah.
So as we're, like, wrapping up this deep dive, it really feels like it all comes back to values, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
what we believe in as people, as organizations, as a society.
100%. All of this, organizational responsibility, sustainability, ethics, it's not just about like checking boxes, you
Yeah.
know? It's about making choices every day that actually reflect what we care about. And, I really do believe this. As talent management professionals, we have a huge opportunity, maybe even a responsibility, to really shape the future of work.
It's true. To make sure that our workplaces, they're not just productive, but that they're ethical, that they're sustainable, that they're actually good for people.
This has been such an interesting conversation. I've learned so much. Thank you so much for geeking out with me about all of this today.
Oh, anytime. This is my jam.
And to you, listening, thanks for diving deep with us today. Remember, even those small choices, they can make a big difference. Keep those brains buzzing, and we will catch you on the flip side for another deep dive into a new, fascinating topic.